One of my composition students just recently reminded me of how hard transitions are to do in music. How is it that we can present one idea and then miraculously make it all the way to the next seemingly unrelated section? Well, you know what? If you're Stravinsky, you'd say, I don't need no stinking transition. I'm just gonna step right over here. But if you're Beethoven, he has something entirely different to say about that. We all know those first few moments of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony with its intense yet simple opening notes and that meandering, frantic, constantly escalating primary melody that follows. But what happens when Beethoven wants to change gears and change to a seemingly unrelated melody? In fact, this melody. But if you were Stravinsky, he'd probably do something more like this. But since we're talking about Beethoven, let's see what he does to transition from his primary melody to his secondary melody. As you see in the opening bars, we have the famous played by the clarinet and the strings. And moving on, we see that motive become the primary melody as we continue on through the piece. Continuing on here, we want to see where he moves on to the secondary theme, the secondary melody. Aha, and here's where the secondary melody played by the first violin comes in. And then the other instruments carry on with that theme that we all recognize. But what's even more interesting is how does he transition from this etc. We all know this primary theme. How does he get from that to this secondary theme? Well, he does it with this a do a part in the French horns, and we have it right here. So you see a deux, that means two horns playing at the same time. And here we go with how that sounds. Which outlines an E flat major chord. Instead of the C minor, that outlines the first melody. So how does he do this? He starts off, instead of having a motive that starts with a major or minor third, listen to this. That's a major third, and then he goes on to a minor third. But here, he doesn't do either of these things. He does something entirely different. Can you hear what it is? Okay, he doesn't do that, obviously, but he does have a different interval which outlines a perfect fifth. Instead of a major third, as he did in the beginning. We outline a E flat major chord. It's really unbelievable when you think about it, because he went from a minor melody to a major melody that actually sounds completely different and has a completely different character. The second thing that Beethoven does is the orchestration of this transition. Instead of having the clarinet and strings play like he did in the very beginning, he chooses another very homogeneous texture, in this case, two French horns playing in unison. And in this way, he's able to still have the homogeneous texture, but have different instruments, in this case, a completely different family of instruments, play the transition material. So this is just another really amazing technique to have similar material, but then come into something more unfamiliar in terms of creating a transition between a primary and secondary melody. And of course, you can do this between different kinds of sections. It doesn't just have to be between primary and secondary melodies. It can be between really anything you want. So that is a couple ways how you can make a transition in your own music. Of course, you should be studying more scores, listening to more music, and kind of subconsciously have this information, this oral information, enter into your mind. In that way, you can have some of these things crop up in your own music. As Stravinsky once said, good artists borrow, but great artists steal. See you next time.